This is Banki decoding Japan for you. In today's video, I would like to cover renting a house in Japan. Typically, living in Japan is a little bit different from the rest of the world, how to rent a house. So in today's video, I'm going to decode Japan for you. So what do you expect in this video? And the housing terms used in Japan. To cover how to find house listing, what to consider before you rent a house. You just don't rent a house right away, and how to find cheap houses. So that will be in the part 1. In part 2, I'm going to cover things to prepare before you rent a house. You need some documents, so I'm going to cover the documents that you need before signing the contract, things to do before you move into your building, and things not to do. I'm going to cover that in part 2. So part 3 will be moving tips, how you're gonna move into your house, moving tips, either you use the moving company or you move into that building yourself. Also, I'm going to cover in the part 3, I'm going to cover the setting up, a lot of things that you need to set up. In this part 3, I'll give you some tips on saving money. And finally, in part 3, I will have you go through how to sort your trash. So the last part is part 4, moving out of that building. How to notify your real estate agent, how to clean the house, trash disposal. I'm going to cover things to do and things not to do. So in this video, everything you need to rent a house, whether you're coming to Japan for study, for work, or you just want to leave your country and you want to just have a new adventure in life, I'll walk you through all this process that you might not find online. I'm going to cover it. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please make sure you subscribe. All right, let's dive into the terms they use in Japan, the rental terms. So the first one is raking. Raking is a non-refundable fee that you pay, that the tenants pay to their landlords in Japan. And it's also known as key money. So this money is like you give it to your landlord, and it's more or less like you begging them. You're gifting them this money. It's not gonna come back. It's non-refundable. So that's the first one. It's called raking. We need to know why you need to know these terms is because they will pop up in your looking for your building. They might say, oh, you need to pay 2 months or 3 months raking, 1 month raking. And the next one is shikikin. Shikikin is the money that you pay. It's a Japanese word that means security deposit, and it's paid when signing up a rental agreement in Japan. It is usually equal to 1 or 2 months of your rent. Some buildings, if they are pretty new, if they are really like luxurious building, they might even ask for like 6 months shikikin. So be aware of that. Those are the money that you have to pay before you go into that building. All right, the next one is shukai tetsurio. It's the commission, the money the real estate will charge you for the services they rendered, So, and the amount is 1 month of your rent. If your rent is 100,000 yen, the shukai tetsurio will be that 1 month plus the tax, the consumption tax. That's what they will charge you. That's for the real estate agent for, locating your desired house. And, also in Japan, we have some terms that might not be used in English. They call, when we hear mansion in English, we think, oh, we're talking about big, rich buildings, but it's totally different from what they use in Japan. Mansion is in Japan is multi-story apartment building that is usually made of concrete and steel. So the term this term is used in Japanese real estate to refer to this type of building. It's not mansion, it's apartment. So let's go to the next one. The next one is apato. Apato, apartment. It's just like a short form of apartment building, apartment blocks, apartment houses, something like that. My home. So my home, is just English, but it's been used in Japan a lot. That means my house, which means a single home, my home, my house, something like that. So those are the terms that you have to get used to when searching for a house in Japan. How do we find house listing? Search for wherever you are or wherever you want to move to in Japan. If it is Tokyo, search for it. If it is different prefecture in Japan, you just look for it. I'm looking for in wherever you want to live. They have tons of them online. You just look for it online. You can get. But the easiest one to get is through the real estate offices. Pretty much they have lots of them very close to train stations. So when you look around train stations, you will see like a paper. They print out each houses, the listing, they put it on the window. So you just walk through it. You look for, the one that is closer to where you want to get. So that's how to find houses in Japan. So before you get a house, what are the things that you need to consider? First one, your work, the proximity of that house to your work, or the proximity to your children's school. Also, you have to consider if the house is closer to the train station, and also if you don't have if it is not close to the train station, how close is the bus stop? You have to consider those things. So before you decide where you will live, just remember, you need to know, how long will it take me to my work? How long will it take me to drop off my children if you still have little ones? How long will it take for me to get to the station, or how long for me from that house? If I get on the bus, how long will it take me to the train station? So you need to ask and calculate. They have comprehensive hours it would take. So just ask the real estate agent, how long will it take from this station to this station? So just make sure you know your workstation, and you will ask them how long will it take. You can also search for it online. Then also from the bus stop to the train station, how long it would take. Some houses are pretty close, like 10 minutes to the train station, that you can just walk down to the station. So just consider those ones. So the proximity to work, let's say within 45 minutes, 1 hour, you're at work, and it's easy for you to catch that train back to your house. So you have to consider if that house is the right one for you. Also, ask your real estate agent if express train stops at that station. Some stations, you won't see the express train. An express train would take you faster to your work and back to the house. So if your station is the local stop, you have to change train to be able to get on that express. So it's better to leave on those places, those stations that they have express trains stops there. So that will help you a lot. It will save you time. That is one thing we have to consider. Consider the bus from your house by bus. Is it like 10 minutes? Is it 20 minutes? The longer it is, if you live away from the station, yes, the cheaper the house. The closer you are to the station, the more you pay in rent. So those are the things you have to consider. How long will it take for your children to get to their school or to come back home? Those are the things that we really need to consider before we choose the right house for us. I also want you to consider moving outside of Tokyo. If you're working in Tokyo, I live in Tokyo, and Tokyo is really crowded. The rent is high in Tokyo, depending on the part of Tokyo you are. We have 23 word in Tokyo, and then we have some suburb of Tokyo. Like the suburb of Tokyo, like they are pretty cheap compared to living in metropolis Tokyo. So if you want to get a cheaper house that will be pretty close to your work, let's say you work in Tokyo. If you're working in other prefecture, just find houses that are a little bit away from the center of the city, and that might take you like 45 minutes to get by train. That will be cheaper than staying in the heartbeat of that big city you are working in. So in Tokyo, pretty much everybody comes to Tokyo, and the money is crazy. So if you don't want to pay much in Tokyo, you can live in Kanagawa. Kanagawa should be within an hour to Tokyo. Chiba is pretty close to Saitama, is pretty close. Guma is a little bit far. Tochigi is really far. Ibaraki by express train is pretty close. So we have those connections. The train is really good here. They are not late. They're always on time. Sometimes if they are late, they cover up that time. So if you don't want to pay that much in rent when it comes to living in the city, Tokyo, you just move around cities or prefectures that are away from Tokyo, but they are pretty close. So those are the things that you need to consider. How do you find cheap houses in Japan? How do you find cheap houses to rent? So the first one I will talk about is the government houses. Government houses like UR, JKK, those are houses that are really cheap. It might be a little bit old, but one thing, the advantage they have is you don't have to pay key money and all those shikiki and all that. You tell them when you're moving into the house and you just pay the amount. So I think for a start, those government houses will help you save a lot. If you're just moving into Japan, you're just starting work, pretty much if you bring money from your country, that's better. But if you're gonna wait for your first salary, second salary before you get your bearing, it's better to get this kind of houses. They are really straightforward. They don't charge that much, and they are pretty cheap. They are multi-story buildings, so depending on where you're living, you can find them. UR and JKK is the way to go. Old buildings are cheap. Some buildings don't have bath. So if you are the type that is desperate, in Japan they have communal bath. So people that live inside that kind of building, they have a place to go take their bath. But you don't have your own bath inside your house. You might have a restroom, but you might not have bath. Those old houses, Japan is earthquake-prone country. I might not advise you to live in old building, but if you don't mind, just in the beginning, you might go for that. They are cheap, but they might be terrible. All right. So the next one, I'm going to tell you, if you watch this video to the end, ridiculously cheap, but I won't say it right now. So please, I want you to watch the video. I will tell you how to get that cheap. And I don't know if you would like to get that kind of house, because You see, I have question mark on those houses. So I'm going to talk about that later. All right, so if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do. I'm going to be breaking down everything about Japan for you. So that is what I'm going to do. But I need your support. I need you to subscribe, share those videos to the guys and to all our passport bros and passport sis that want to move to Asia. This video will help you. So please subscribe, tell your friends about it that really want to visit Japan. It will help you a lot. Remember, I promised to tell you that house, the house that is really cheap, the question mark in the beginning. Yeah, those houses are crazily cheap. They are crazily cheap. If, let's say, the usual rent is 1,500, 1,500, they might ask you to pay like $400, $500. And why is that? The reason behind that is they call it accident houses. Somebody deletes in that house. Maybe crime, maybe something happened. So nobody wants to live in that kind of houses. So if you don't mind and you're strong, yeah, you might rent it. Just let me know in the comment below if you would like to rent that kind of house. It might be in a very good location, very close to city center. If you would like to rent that kind of building, please leave it in the comments and let me know. If you have rented that kind of building before, yeah, let's talk about it. All right. This is Banky, decoding Japan for you.